Hello everyone. It's really rainy outside, so we're cozy indoors today. I thought I'd wear something a bit more interesting for you guys. So I've had a few questions over the last few years actually about how I became an artist, and instead of just sort of tell everyone like individually, I thought I'd just tell you guys here how it happened if you don't know already. So after uni, I went to university in the middle of Wales and studied archaeology and classics, and I really loved that course. But unfortunately, afterwards when I came out, there are really no jobs in it or nothing that will pay a living wage. A lot of it's like volunteer work, which is wonderful and really, I mean, you get your accommodation and food paid and stuff like that while you're on a dig, but beyond that there isn't always much of a wage. I think I have two friends who still work in archaeology, and it's not easy financially at all. But yeah, so I didn't go into that straight away when I came out of uni. I actually went to live in Bournemouth on the south coast of England, and I was kind of like floundering around. I didn't know what I really wanted to do or what I wanted to go into. I mean, I always knew I was like drawn to the arts and stuff, but never really took it seriously as a like career choice. So then I had a phone call from a friend I went to uni with, and he was in South Korea, and he said, "Do you want to come over here and teach English for like a year?" I was like, well, yeah, I'm not really doing anything useful here, so yeah, okay, I'll do that. So I moved over there for a year and lived in a city just to the west of Seoul called Incheon, like on the coast, and just taught English in a like a private language school there. And it was an amazing year, but such a massive culture shock, and I don't think I was a very good teacher then. I think I'd be a lot better now, but then I just really wasn't ready for it. But you know, they were happy with me there, so I must have been doing something right. And yeah, when I came back from there, a bunch of my friends were living in London at that point, so I decided to move there with them to a village just outside London called Dulwich, which is technically still London, but it's got a kind of really villagey vibe. It's really cute. So we lived in Dulwich, and I went into building management somehow. I started off in security and then went into building management, and did that for only like 10 months or something, but I really enjoyed that because I got to sort of work mostly on my own and like keep an eye on the like health and safety of the building and stuff like that, make sure everything was clean and tidy and good for the clients, the tenants that were in there. It was like a big office building in the centre of London, and yeah, so that was really interesting. And I would get to go like every single morning up to the like top floor, and walk around on the balcony out there and see the sunrise over the city, which was just amazing. So I'll never forget that. But yeah, and then I decided I didn't really want to live in the city. It was a good experience, but I'm just not really a city girl. I went to go and visit my friend in Cornwall, and travelled around there with another friend, and had like a couple of weeks just like camping and sort of sorting our heads out and stuff. And I was thinking, yeah, I might move down here and do sort of building management or something. But at this point, also, I mean, the thing I was probably most likely to do was move to Spain with my parents, because my dad was setting up a business. Like he'd had a couple of businesses already, which had done really well, but he wanted to do something big, you know, and he would have done so well, he really would. First he was going to do a bike business because he'd been like into cycling his whole life and knew the business inside out, and was going to set up like bicycle hire centres like throughout the Mediterranean, starting in Spain. But then he went there one time and decided, no, actually I don't want to do that, and because he'd gone over to North Africa from Spain and saw all the fossils that were coming out of the desert there and stuff, and he got so interested in it. He really liked geology actually, and he decided that he wanted to like support the local communities there and sell the fossils in Spain if possible. So he decided to do that business. So yeah, while I was like traveling around Cornwall, my parents had moved over to Spain and were setting themselves up there. But one day I got a phone call from my mum when I was on the bus in Cornwall, and she was absolutely distraught. She was like, I don't know what's going on, your daddy's gone mad, and you need to come over here and help us because I don't know what to do. And so I went over there, and it turns out he was suffering from vascular dementia, and it had really affected his behaviour, and he'd become quite paranoid and all sorts of things. But yeah, so I stayed over there with them for, must have been 6 months. So I was there over winter, like 6 months, 10 months maybe, and got my dad on some medication, so he kind of calmed down and stuff. He still wasn't very well obviously, but he was a lot calmer, and my mum could manage, and we sorted out all the paperwork and stuff, and they really didn't want to come back over to the UK, so we got them sorted out over there. And I don't have any brothers or sisters or anything, so it was just me, my mum and dad, and some amazing people over there, really lovely friends who helped with things like all the bureaucracy and paperwork and hospital stuff, and driving us around when when my parents couldn't drive. And I mean, I'd passed my test by then, but I wasn't really confident driving, and I hadn't driven for long enough to drive in another country anyway. But yeah, so they kind of settled over there, and they were in their house and stuff. So I decided, right, I'm not really needed here at the moment all the time. So I came back over to England, and I actually moved to Cornwall for a bit, and I started writing this book about a community that lives in a forest. So yeah, I was doing that, and then I met and spent time with my friend's brother, and he's so lovely. He's a really great guy, and ended up sort of in a relationship with him, and fell pregnant with my first daughter. So that was quite a shock, but yeah, so we stayed in Cornwall for like a year when she was little, and would go back and forth to Spain to visit my parents and check that they were okay and stuff. My dad had a couple of operations, but other than that, everything was kind of calm. But yeah, after a while, we realised that my mum needed more help as my dad kind of deteriorated. Yeah, at one point, oh yeah, that's it. At one point, I phoned them to see how they're doing, and my dad answered, and he said, "Oh, I don't know where your mum is." Like, okay, what? How long's she been gone? And he said, "Oh, a few days." I was like, "What? What do you mean? Where did she go?" "Oh, I don't know. They came and took her away." Oh God. Oh, it was horrible. And this is when Amelia was like 10 months old, I think. And so I phoned the British consulate, and they phoned around, and it took ages to find her, and it was sort of about 6 or 8 hours, I think, of phoning around all the different hospitals and police stations and all this stuff, and they eventually found her at a reasonably local hospital, and she'd had appendicitis, and she'd gone in for an emergency operation. And they'd just like come and taken her away in the ambulance, and that was it. And my dad was left alone. Weirdly, fortunately, she had made a massive carrot cake the day before she fell ill. And he'd just been living off that for days. So I'm so glad that nothing else happened to him though. Oh my god, I'm so glad she was okay in the end, and they caught it in time as well. So yeah, that was a bit scary. But after that we realised, God, if anything else like that ever happens again, my dad's going to be on his own. And he really couldn't look after himself at all at that point, which is so weird because he used to be so massively independent. He'd just do everything, you know. He wouldn't let my mum iron his shirts because he was better at it. Stupid stuff like that. But I don't know. So yeah, myself and Amelia and Amelia's dad decided to move over to Spain to help my parents. And also his parents were a couple of hours drive away because they had a place in Spain as well, weirdly. So that wasn't planned at all, it just happened like that. So it was nice for him to be kind of near his parents as well, which is kind of cool. But yeah, we moved over there and just like helped to support my parents. So that was in 2006 we moved there. There wasn't much work out there. Amelia's dad was able to get some building work and stuff like that, but nothing really amazing. And of course I was mostly at home with Amelia. She was only like 1, 2 while we were there. So I couldn't really go anywhere or do anything much. And then my friend told me about this website called Etsy, and she was like, oh, why don't you put some stuff up there? I think it could really suit you. You should just like make something and see if it sells. And I was like, okay, that's a possibility, I suppose. I don't really know what to make or do. So I started off just doing some little portraits and a few cartoons and just some abstract art and stuff like this. It's so different to what I do now, but yeah, a few of those bits sold and I was able to make a bit of money. And then I thought, oh, okay, maybe I'll do a bit more of this and practice my techniques and things. And yeah, it just kept on growing. And I was mostly doing portraits at that point. And also I went into doing Jane Austen art as well, like on the book pages. You might have seen those. And in 2008 my dad passed away, and we'd made the decision only the day before, really, to move back to the UK because we couldn't make any money there, really. We'd actually just the day before broken up. We're really good friends, we still are, but it wasn't working out as a relationship anymore. So yeah, we broke up. We decided might move back to the UK soon. And then the next morning, early in the morning, my mum phoned and said my dad had passed away in his sleep. So I guess that was that. She wanted to stay out there. She had quite a few friends there at that point, and she and they had started a group called the Amigas, and they go on sort of trips to like nearby villages and things, and they do talks and just like get together and have like different classes, craft classes. There was a computer class run by a lovely guy, and yeah, it was really good for her to have something to do at that point. And she was really into like her IT, and ran the website, a website about like news for the village and stuff like that. So that was really cool for her to have a distraction really at that point. And so yeah, after that we moved back here and I continued with the art, and Amelia went to nursery school in Cornwall, and then I met up with a friend from uni who we'd had a brief relationship but it hadn't worked out, but yeah, and that was Rob, and we kind of just spoke to each other on and off for about a year, and then he invited Amelia and I up here to live with him. And so yeah, I suppose that's the beginning of my art journey. And then I moved over here, back to Cornwall for a short time, and then up here to Woking, and I've been here with Rob ever since then, and we had our little girl Liana in 2014, and yeah, we're all here now, and I feel so lucky that I've been able to continue with my artwork and keep putting that out into the world, and it has continued to support me recently, support us, and unfortunately because my mum's ill now, I haven't been able to do as much work, so it hasn't supported me recently. I just haven't been able to put the hours into it, so that's unfortunate because it was really taking off before, and now it's just kind of plummeted down, and my sales on Etsy are just rubbish at the moment. But it's just because it needs what's called marketing, I guess. More marketing, more time, more my face there in front of the camera, and a lot of behind the scenes like admin stuff and things that most people don't really see, but that's okay. So yeah, and that's us here now.